These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons at the right time. In the 14th day, it's important, of the first month, it's important, at even is the Lord's Passover. This is the first one upon which everything else lays. On the 14th, the Son of God was crucified. Passover. He was placed in the grave. 3 days in the grave. And when he comes out of the grave, you know what? It was perfect. There was no blemish. There was no imperfection. His body did not decay or rot or spoil while he was in the grave. He came out of the grave perfect. On the 14th, 15th, 16th, his death, his burial, his resurrection. Do you know when Jesus was crucified? On the 14th. Literally. He died, he was crucified right smack on the day. He said, these are my feasts. These are my, listen to what God says, they're my appointments. These things will happen on the sequence, the days when I called for it thousands of years earlier. Then you know what it says here? I got to show you this. I must go quick. Look at verse 15. And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Now, just to interpret that for you, he's saying after first fruits, first of the barley harvest, is cut, brought to the temple, it's offered to God, it would be accepted, and it would be a guarantee that more was going to come up out of the ground. Now we know the day, okay? And then it says, from the first fruits, from the first to come out of the ground, you shall count 7 weeks, 7 Sabbaths. 7 times 7 is how many days? 49. Okay, 49. But what does it say? You shall count 7 sevens of weeks, and then it says, and on the morrow. Now, without your calculators, 7 sevens is 49, and the morrow is what? 50. Pentecost, which means 50. So when the Lord was resurrected from the grave, at first fruit, came out of the grave, first of the barley harvest, the Apostle Paul said, Christ our first fruit, he came first. There were others who were raised before him, but they died again. Jesus was resurrected never to die again. And we're going to be resurrected. The Lord was resurrected. Read about it in the book of Acts. He stayed around, I'm saying on the earth, teaching his disciples, went up to Galilee, we're told, for 40 days. Oops, we got a problem. It says, there'll be 7 sevens a week, that's 49 weeks, and then on the morrow, that's 50. But when he came out of the grave, he only was around for 40 days, and then he has sounded from the Mount of Olives. He ascended to his Father. But remember what he did? He said to his disciples, it's more necessary for you that I go to be with my Father, because I'm going to be your great high priest, your advocate, and your intercessor. But I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you alone. I love you too much for that. After 40 days, he says, I'm going to ascend. And he ascends from the Mount of Olives. But he said to them, listen, I've got to go, but I'm not going to abandon you. You tarry. And they tarried 10 more days. They knew Passover happened on Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread happened on the Feast of Unleavened Bread, first fruit occurred on first fruit. By now they were learning a lesson. Because Pentecost, what do you read in the book of Acts? Pentecost. In the New Testament, we're not in the Old Testament, Pentecost. Why is it called Pentecost? Because it's when the Spirit of God comes down and starts the church. In Acts chapter 2, 50 days, we call it to this day Pentecost, and we don't even understand why. Because he was resurrected. Then he stayed around ministering to them for 40 days. He said, I'm going to my Father, but I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to send you the Paraclete, the Holy Spirit. And they waited 10 more days, and you have the outpouring of the Spirit of God. Pentecost. They are the 4 spring appointments.